For those of you watching the recording, I apologise. As ever, I'm fiddling, just getting the last things. I seem to have my dinner on my phone, which is an interesting one. Also, just checking on the Facebook page that it is showing that I have gone live. So I know it does take a while for it to register and for people to see that it's going live. So that's really cool. So whilst it's doing that, I am just going to let people know that that this is going live. And we'll just wait for some people to join this evening before I start having a little bit of a, I was going to say a waffle then. I suppose in some senses it is a waffle, only in the context that there's no, whereas with my talks that I do and also with the training that I do and things like that, obviously there is a framework, there is something that I directly follow. But the whole purpose of the Confidence Garden, the Confidence Garden question time, the Confidence question time is for it to be a conversation so that we can see where it goes, so that we can have a level of interaction. But equally, I know that a number of people talk to me about the recordings and that they watch the recordings, which is really useful to know. Which is why I refer to the recordings, because I've had a number of people email me afterwards, which you can do at Jules at juleswyman.com, or you can obviously message me direct on here. But the whole purpose of them is to have a conversation with whoever shows up, whoever's here and ready and wants to join in the conversation. This isn't about necessarily coaching people one-to-one. That's something that I would do either in a group environment or obviously one-to-one. But in this situation, this is genuinely about having a conversation. So it really is about opening the dialogue between me and those that are watching live. So hello as people are joining. And it's great to know kind of what your thoughts are on the topic as things pop up. So I am just going to check something because I can see that there are some, it is showing a little bit that there might be some challenges with regards being able to see me live. So I'm not really sure as to how well this is going to go this evening, because it keeps popping up to say that the connection's a little bit weak as well. But at least unlike last week when I had a bit of a cold, found a secret elixir, by the way, of turmeric, black pepper, raw honey, and what was the fourth ingredient? Turmeric, black pepper, and coconut oil. Heat over some hot water until they melt those down, and then take a spoonful of those every so often. Worked a treat at getting rid of the cold that I thought was coming last week. So I think I've waffled long enough to build an audience, let you know that I'm here, let you know what's going on. And as people are coming on, I will obviously say hi and hopefully they'll interact as well. So, hello to those of you who are watching live. Okay, so how to feel comfortable in your own skin. How has this conversation come about? What's the purpose of it? It's come about because I had a number of people recently say that they have pretended to be me in situations, or they've pretended to be somebody else that they have they've seen in a certain way. So I know it was somebody who saw me do a presentation, thought that they wanted to then be a speaker and speak in the way that I do when I do my talks. I had somebody do it in a reference to coaching. I've heard people speak about it in a number of different ways. I'm trying to be like my manager. I want to be more like he is or like she is. And there is nothing wrong with looking at somebody who you maybe admire, or that they inspire you, or you like their style, or you connect with how they work. There's absolutely nothing wrong in looking at them and looking at how they do things. It's called modelling, or, you know, in our parlance, as we did when we were kids, what we did was we copied. You know, it's how we learned to walk, it's how we learned to talk, it's how we learned to do pretty much everything that we initially learned to do, which is we watch somebody else, we model somebody else, and then we take that on board. So there's nothing wrong with doing that, whether that be a speaker that you're watching, be it a coach, be it doesn't matter who it is. But if you see somebody, your boss or your manager, and you think, oh, I'd like to do what they're doing and how they're doing it, that's great. But look at it more as the skill. Maybe there's a particular type of languaging, or maybe there's a particular type of way that they're standing on the stage if they're doing a presentation, or maybe it's the way that they hold that meeting, or the information that they give out beforehand, or whatever it may be. But it's usually more to do with, you usually can distill it down into two areas, which is one around the kind of the skills or the attributes of what they're doing, something that you could learn to take on board yourself. But the second part is that they're going to be doing things themselves. They are being themselves. They are as they are. So I watched a really great video a few weeks ago now, which was all around how to be funny. And I thought it was very interesting the way that the guy had done the video and was breaking it down and using different types of comedians to show the kind of humour that they use. Now, some of these comedians, my guess is, the way that they are, is that actually there's a lot of what they do has come to them quite naturally. They maybe did it as a child quite naturally. But equally, there is an artistry to doing some of those things, so you can work out the kinds of jokes that they're doing and why they are perceived as being so affable, for example, and why they can get away with some of the kind of jokes that they do. And those are skills that you can learn. That's artistry, that's mastering something and taking those skills on board. But I think where we have to become really aware and mindful of what's going on is when we try to be that person. So not only do we look at the skill and the craft that they may be displaying, but actually we try to be them. We take on their mannerisms, we take on the way that they walk, we take on their attitude, we do all of those different things. Now, initially that might be a great way of you getting used to doing something. It may be a way of giving you the opportunity to see that you can do something by being somebody else effectively. But the challenge that we have with that, if we're not careful, is that in actual fact, by pretending in that way, we're not helping ourselves. We're not really serving ourselves in order to be able to be ourselves. And what we are unconsciously sending ourselves the message is that how I am, who I am, what I do is not good enough, and therefore I have to pretend to be this other person. And then we get into conflict then we don't feel comfortable in this skin that we're inhabiting and with being how we are, and we end up then constantly be trying to pretend to be somebody else, or at least fit in with what we think other people want us to be. So for those of you that are watching live, let me know, does this make sense? Is this coming through loud and clear as a way of understanding what I'm talking about the difference between learning a skill, learning some artistry versus pretending to be somebody else? Just give me be great if you just gave me a thumbs up or anything, just so that I know that it is making sense. And I don't think that any of the crazy fun noise that's going on outside is going to knock on my door. There's no pumpkin outside, I'm afraid, so I don't think there are going to be any trick-or-treaters this evening for me. I'm not a big fan of Halloween. So I'm going to make a guess that it is making sense, mainly because I'm not getting a message either way. Oh, Graham, yes, you're there. Graham says it's making perfect sense. Brilliant. Thank you, Graham. So the thing that we have to be careful with is that when we keep putting on these characters, when we keep trying to pretend to be somebody else or act as if or fake it or think that somebody else has got something nailed in a better way, and so we then just keep pretending, is that we're constantly then feeding the belief that we are not good enough, that the environment that we're in, how we are, is not sufficient. It's not good enough. I am not good enough. We are not good enough as we are, and therefore we're constantly feeling this internal conflict between who we think we should be, basically, versus who we think we are. And let me clarify a little bit of what I mean by that. This who we think we should be, if we're perceiving other people, be it our boss, be it our spouse, be it our partner, our best friend, or somebody on the telly, it doesn't matter who, but if we're perceiving that people like them, love them, trust them, in a way that we're craving, that's what we want, we think we're using them as a measuring stick against who and how we're showing up, and we're going to be making ourselves wrong. Or we might unconsciously also be looking for the other person to fail sometimes in order for us to feel better. But equally, what's going to be going on is that we're using them as that measuring stick, and it's not going to be in a helpful, useful, kind or considerate way. So it's really important to recognise that by placing somebody else on that pedestal, for want of a better phrase, is that if you're putting them up there, you are going to be putting yourself lower down. And therefore there's always going to be that comparison, there's always going to be that gap, which is basically feeding I don't feel good enough, I'm not going to be great. So the second part is that I should be up there. So the first part is this is who I think I should be. I should be more like whoever. But equally the other part is that we've made up our minds as to who we think we are. And it's really important to understand that quite often the majority of people that I talk to, when I start to ask them about who they think they are, firstly, the things come out very much based on more of what they do rather than who they are, which is a very interesting way that we've been brought up to see ourselves, which is in measurement of what we've achieved or what we've done or the role that we have, the identification, whether it be mum, sister, brother, aunt, whether it be a family one, whether it be to do with supervisor or a job role or whatever it may be. We say who I am is these roles, rather than stopping and taking a step back and really looking at, okay, well, who am I? And most people, when we start digging around in that kind of realm, don't really know who they are. They're who they think they are is usually where we start going, and it tends to come up with, well, I'm kind of a nice person, I'm kind of a caring person, but I get this wrong, and I'm not very good at this, and I forget these things, and gosh, when I did that, and then this thing happened to me. And actually that's all wrapped around who we think we are versus who we really are. So we've got these dilemmas really around who we think we are, who we think we should be, and who we really are. And unless we really take the time to look at who we think we are, these other two factors are going to be the ones that are going to be in the main play, which is who we think we should be and who we think we are. Neither of them, I believe, are really who you are, but they're in comparison with each other. And this one here of who I think I am is never going to be good enough. I'm not worthy, I'm insecure, I always get this wrong, I'm insufficient, I'm inadequate, unlovable, unlikable, unworthy, worthless, useless, whatever the dialogue phrase that we use to describe who we think we are. And then on the other hand, we'll then have who we think we should be, which is usually wrapped around this perfect person who gets things right, is in control, who completes stuff, is nice, is polite, is considerate, all of those kinds of sides of things. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of that, but if you're placing them in comparison with the other one of who you think you are, and this one's who you think you should be, just realised I could have written on my hands, might make it easier. But what's going on is when you've got those two things going on, is that they're not in alignment with each other. They're not helpful. They're not supportive of each other, and therefore they tend to be being pulled in different directions or pulling in different directions. Because this one of who I think I am is never going to match up to who I think I should be. So there's going to be this kind of discord between those two things, which then is why people don't feel comfortable in their own skin, because there's this constant perpetuating message of this is who I am, but I should be this. This is who I am, but I should do that. This is who I am, but I should have this. It's just this constant message of self-berating and putting themselves down and never feeling that who they are is right. Never feeling that how they are is right. Thank you for the thumbs and the hearts. I'm assuming that's because it makes sense and you're getting it. So thank you. But to me, that's where one of the biggest conflicts comes up for ourselves, and it is this internal comparison that we make between this who we think we are to who we think we should be. And this is very, very rarely supportive. This is very rarely supportive. So how are we going to feel comfortable in our own skin if really and truly, no matter what I think, who I think I am is never who I think I should be, or never going to match up to who I think I should be? So there's this conflict, there's this disconnect, and this then discomfort that goes on. Does that make sense for those of you who are watching live, or even if you're watching the recording, which I know so many of you do? And please remember that you can still comment even if you're watching the recording, and I do see them, and it is great for me to get the feedback, not in the sense of, oh, please tell me how great I am, because this isn't about that. This is about me being able to share any of the insights, thoughts that I share in other environments, be them workshops, one-to-one, even things that I learned through my own 15 odd years of doing this work for myself, and then also the work that I do with my coach, because I have a coach as well. So it's not about, when I ask you for the thumbs up and the hearts and the comments, it's not about me looking for you to praise me. It is literally just, is this information making sense? Is it helpful? Is it useful for you? So Jane, I have been guilty of feeling I am not who I should be, so this makes sense. Excellent. Thank you, Jane. Yeah, and you know, when I was listening, I was thinking about this earlier, about what to do this evening. And as I say, this is something that's come up a number of times. And then I was cooking my dinner this evening, and I like listening to Desert Island Discs, and very rarely get to listen to that live. I tend to listen to it on the recording. And it was Michael Bublé. And Michael Bublé was talking about how he gets compared to all these other amazing singers throughout the years. And he says, you know, it's not about looking to take anything away from them and what they did, but it is about him honouring that he's learned from them and their style and what they brought to the table, but showing up as him. So, you know, he may be all suave and sophisticated, but I don't know if you've ever seen any of his footage, or maybe you've been to see him live, but you know, he swears. He's, you know, he's quite happy dropping the F-bomb left, right and centre, because that's part of who he is. He's not looking to be somebody different. He's not looking to pretend to be who he thinks he should be because of this particular role that he has, this job that he has, this way that he shows up in this world as an entertainer. So he's being himself. And I can honestly say that one of my great breakthroughs when I was looking to do speaking and do lots more speaking gigs, I was at a conference and there were 7 speakers in total, 3 men, then 1 woman came out, and then another 3 men. And this one woman that came out was a mad, crazy Australian lady called Amanda Gore. And if you haven't ever come across Amanda's work, have a look at some of her videos. She's bonkers, she's great, and she's got a lovely message about connecting the head and the heart and then being able to speak from the heart. And she's this tiny little Australian lady who came bouncing out, who very obviously to me was not ashamed to be her. In this world, I mean, I was in a room full of about 5,000 very suited and booted corporate, a lot of very big, I was in Canada, a lot of very big burly guys. And she just came out and she was herself because she knew that she was being herself. She was showing up as herself, knowing that there are going to be people in the room that's not going to resonate with her message. There are going to be people in the room that her style just does not connect with. And that's okay. You know, if we go out there trying to be this chameleon of constantly changing who we are to fit in with other people, then it's tiring. Nothing else, it's tiring. And then we get confused as to who we are. And other people, I had a friend a long time ago who sadly is no longer around, but having discussed things with a lot of people after we knew that when she had passed on, we all started to realize that we knew a different person. And it was that recognition that she didn't feel comfortable with being in her own skin, that she was morphing, she was being a chameleon and constantly changing to try and fit in with other people. And as we all said, the sad thing is the bit that we loved about her wasn't anything to do with that. It was to do with when she showed up as her, whether that be, you know, a hilarious, joyous person, or she was upset, or she was in her full-on work mode, or whatever it may be. We absolutely loved her as her. And yeah, Jane, like the expression showing up as yourself, you've got to show up as yourself. Who else are you showing up as? If you're not showing up as yourself, then really who are you showing up as? And do you really want to be seen or be perceived as somebody who is a fake? Somebody who is, who's not. If you're not showing up as yourself, then you're pretending to be somebody else. So you're acting, you're pretending, and I think we can all sense that. We can all feel that with other people. And don't get me wrong, I know for myself, when I watched Amanda Gore and she came bouncing out onto the stage, I just thought, if she can do it, and she did have people enthralled, I really do think that a lot of that was to do with the fact that they just was watching somebody be themselves. And by watching somebody be themselves, we get enthralled with that. We get intrigued by that. I remember watching an interview with Wayne Dyer a number of years ago, and one of the questions that he was asked, Wayne Dyer is a writer, an author, a spiritual teacher, a psychologist, and a number of other things. And he said one of the things he was asked was about charisma. And what is charisma? And I loved his answer, because to me it just made so much sense, because charisma at that point was again something that I perceived that you were born with or not. And actually his very simple answer was something that made me realize that it was attainable for all of us, regardless of where we are or what we do. Because when he was asked what is charisma, his answer was charisma is oh my gosh, I can't even speak. Somebody being authentic. So authentism, no, that's not the right word. Somebody being authentic, and enthusiasm. They were the two things that for him were encapsulated charisma, authenticity, there we go, that's the right word, authenticity and enthusiasm. So it's not about, charisma's not about schmoozing the room and pretending, you know, James Bonding it and pretending to be something you're not and kind of getting it all slick and all of that kind of crap, quite frankly. It's about being you. It's about showing up as you. That means being authentic. That means, you know, it might be that you trip over. It might be that you have a laugh. It might be that you aren't particularly happy and joyous that day. It might be that you, I don't know, it's just be you. Be authentic, be you, which might mean that you get your answers incorrect. It might mean that you need your notes. It might be that you need your cup of tea. But be you. And it's the same with that enthusiasm. I think that I watch a lot of TED Talks, and if you haven't discovered TED Talks, I'd highly recommend signing up to get their free newsletter and a little bit of a jog as a reminder as to what talks are available at the moment, because the talks that are on there are fantastic. And it never fails to amaze me that the people that I connect with, it's not to do with their topic necessarily. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's to do with the person, and usually that is around their authenticity, but their enthusiasm, their passion for the topic that they're talking about. And it could be that they are talking about photography. It could be they're talking about playing the piano or cooking or politics, saving the world, in the environment. It could be anything. But when somebody brings forth that genuine enthusiasm for what they're talking about, which, by the way, doesn't necessarily mean that they are loud or that they are boastful. There's a beautiful passion that comes out from people. I love having conversations with people, and all of a sudden they just go on to their favourite topic. And it could be baking, it could be sewing, it could be nature, it could be yoga, it could be anything. And all of a sudden they'll go on to that subject, and just watch their eyes light up. It is like, pardon the pun of it being Halloween, but it is like that pumpkin light has gone in, and it's beaming out of them. It's absolutely beaming out. And I'm sure that you've seen this with children, you know, when they get enthusiastic about something. But it's that, and that draws us in, and that's about being your own self. Now, I recognise for some people that, you know, you might not be in the environment that nurtures that in a work sense. So I get that maybe you can't always do that in a work environment. But where can you do that? And if you genuinely do not think that anywhere in your life that you have that space to be fully open and authentic and be you, then something has to change in your life. Something has to change in your life, in my view. Because even, you know, I live on my own, and I will put music on and dance around or sing at the top of my voice or cook or, you know, do whatever, because I want to enthuse. I want to enthuse that life and be me and be comfortable in my own skin and be comfortable in my own skin in my own home. And if you're not being able to do that in your own home, then maybe something needs to be looked at there. So I've just realised the time, as ever. I've kind of got excited, got passionate, got enthusiastic. You see, I used to get really... whenever I was doing videos, wouldn't let myself, I wouldn't move, certainly wouldn't fiddle with my hair. My hair would have had to have been perfect. My makeup would have had to have been perfect. And for any of you who have watched a number of these confidence question times now, you all know that I fiddle with my hair. I pull faces. I find that I've got things under my eye, or have my very big mug of tea. It's green tea today, for those of you that are wondering. Because that's me. I fiddle with my hair. I look like I have trees coming out of my head. That's me. I get distracted. So I'm not I'm not trying to be slick. I'm not trying to be scripted and perfect and have things in that way. So this is me, and for some people this would drive them nuts. They would hate it, and that's fine. I'm not the right person for them to hear this message with. That needs to come from somebody else if they're looking for it. I get that. I absolutely get that. I know that there are some people that really resonate with how I work and how I deliver information. And for some people, that's just not going to work. And that's cool too. It's absolutely cool too. So that's my invitation, really, for you to be comfortable in your own skin, is to start being you. Be who you are. And you're very welcome, Graham. Thank you very much. It's lovely to have you back. Don't think I've seen you for the last few weeks that we've been around. So thank you for joining me this evening. For those of you that don't know, and I'm going to have to paste it because I know that we haven't done the link again yet, but I have just launched today. Thank you, Graham. Perfect as I am. Bless you. I have just launched today the dates for the Truth About Confidence full day next year. That's the one that sold out in October. There's lots of thumbs and hearts coming in now, so thank you very much. I love it, and I'm grateful. So I will put that underneath this link, because there is an early bird price which is available until the end of November, and also you have the opportunity to, if you're in the first 5 people, you have the opportunity to oh my gosh, there you go. You see, that's being authentic. It's completely forgetting. Actually got distracted by a message that popped up. By being the first 5, and you will get a free copy of my book, If We Can, You Can, and I will sign that for you as well. There's loads of thumbs coming in now, which is really lovely. I usually sit and just press them like crazy on some people's videos. So if there is anything else, whilst I'm waffling for the last little bit here, if there's anything else that you want to ask or share, or anything specifically that you found helpful this evening that you can take away and use, then or are going to use, then please do pop it down there. Now, since Facebook has changed, I can't see on here. Let me have a look if anybody else has commented this. Oh, there's lots of Halloween ones now. I love it. Thank you. I forgot the Halloween ones were there. Let's just have a look. Just make sure that I haven't missed anything, because sometimes people do message whilst this is going on. So thank you. Oh, Paul, it looks like you finally managed to be able to find the videos and get on, which is brilliant. And Graham says all of it. That's wonderful. You can, if you're already on the page, actually, the Truth About Confidence one day for next year is on the on this page. It's pinned at the top of it, so you can see it there. But I will put it under the video as well, just in case. But if you have any questions, want me to talk about, or any topics that you want me to talk about for next week's question time, then please do message me, and I will do my best to look at those for you. Just so that you're aware, next week the question time is actually going to be on Tuesday. So whatever the date is, and I can't remember, I think it's the 8th of November. It's next Tuesday, just due to another session that I have booked in, which means I wouldn't make 7 o'clock. So yeah, next Tuesday at 7 p.m. right here, right now. No, not right now. On the page. Then please do come and join me next week. So Graham has said all of it, and Jane has put, we'll take the showing up as myself for tomorrow. Ace, Jane, and I'd love to know how it goes, because I know that you've got some interesting things happening in your life, so it'd be nice to see how you showing up as you, what that gives you, and how you can be you. Not everybody likes it when we show up as ourselves, and you know what, those people soon move on after a while, so that's a good way of doing things. So you're very welcome, Graham. Thank you for showing up. It's always great to have you here and have this interaction. So have a wonderful rest of evening. As I say, if you have a question for next week, it's on Tuesday, but nonetheless, you can message me straight away tonight or when you watch the recording, or you can message me during the week and we can look at that for next week. So in the meantime, do look at what confidence means to you and how you can start building it even more for yourself. And if you really are not sure, then take a look around the page so that you can look at some of the other videos. They may spark some more